All right, let's talk money once again with Winnie Sun, a financial advisor, but also the managing partner there at Sun Group Wealth Partners. Hey, a lot of students are going back to school, K through 12 here. I know my family, we've already done some back to school spending for our son and daughter. I mean, this is $1 billion business. A lot of people though are on tight budgets. I mean, what advice can you give, Winnie, for those families out there to really maximize their budget? And are people actually spending more, during this pandemic?
Absolutely, Mike. It's so interesting because a lot of retailers expected this year to be a record year and back to school shopping.
Right.
But what we're seeing now that it actually might be delayed. And in fact, we're seeing more families saying, we're kind of on a wait and see basis, especially given that back to school is so non-traditional this year, right? Where a lot of parents are still on the fence of will they be going back to school? And if they're gonna have to go virtual all of a sudden. And also a lot of parents that we've been talking to also saying that those who are going back, the spending has certainly changed. And so that's causing a lot of issues for retailers are not even sure
Hmm.
how they can keep up with supply if people then jump in and want to purchase more. One thing I will say, this is a big one for parents who are sort of on the fence. A lot of the sales that you're going to be seeing, like better sales, actually they're projecting that many of them could actually happen later in the year, September, even maybe into October. So if you don't need that item right away, you might want to wait and see.
Okay, got it. Hey, jobs. I know there are a lot of jobs out there right now, but apparently there's not a lot of candidates. So, what advice are you giving companies to best attract that talent that's out there?
Absolutely. Mike, it's so interesting you're seeing that because we are seeing this too. So over 10 million jobs are currently posted. This is according to the Labor Department as of June. So actually there's more positions now. But interesting enough, a lot of these positions are in the hospitality industry as well as the healthcare industry. And as you know, a lot of Americans aren't yet ready to jump in those industries just yet. But what we're seeing now is employers are getting really, really creative. We're talking about a little bit of a boost in compensation, which is good. We're definitely seeing more sign-on bonuses as well. We're
Huh.
even seeing some employers offer pet insurance because they're saying, we know you got to leave your pet at home. So we're going to make things a little bit easier. But what I think is interesting is that employers are really being forced to decide on how they're going to step up and maybe give more job flexibility to a lot of employees.
Okay, interesting. You mentioned the employee benefits, pet insurance being one of them. What about the corporate 529? I know you're very versed in this. I know you've helped companies with setting this up. In your opinion, why should an employer, Wayne, why should an employer be offering these 529s, college saving plans to their employees?
Well, Mike, I hope this trend continues because this is a big one. I've been working on corporate 529 since the early 2000s. I think one of the first ones I helped set up was for DreamWorks Animation back in the day. And so here's what's great about these corporate 529s. We know they're college savings plans, but just like your 401k at work, imagine if you had an opportunity to save for your child's education at work as well. So this could be through payroll deductions or even direct deposit through your checking account. But through the work, what makes sense is typically for an employer, it costs nothing to set up one of these plans. In fact, even if you're a sole practitioner, you're a one-person company or you're 1,000-person employee base, you can still set up a corporate 529, gives employees that added benefit of a discounted, in most cases, a discounted way of avoiding some of those upfront fees. There's still going to be fees involved, so you have to
Right.
look at the fine print. But this is a great way to get your kids saving for helping your kids save for college, or grandparents could do this as well. So we're hoping this trend continues because we're seeing definitely much more interest. Like our phones have been ringing off the hook
Uh,
of companies looking to set up these sort of plans.
I think it's great. I mean, it would make it easier for me. I mean, I would, if my company offered, I can see myself easily doing that. But
Mhm.
I don't have one right now. So but for some reason, if the company offers, I'm on board. So I'll look
Yeah.
into it.
That's
Um,
an opportunity, Mike. And actually, I
yeah,
should jump in on this too, is because if you feel like your employer should offer this, speak to HR or your CFO, have them reach out to us, and then we can set them up on one.
copy that. I like it. The Delta virus, or this variant of the coronavirus, are you concerned about it, or what are you telling your clients about whether or not this is going to put a dent in their financial plan?
I think so. I think many of us are very concerned right across the United States here,
Yeah.
especially what that's going to look like for your financial plan. Is it going to, a lot of my clients are saying, I'm sort of feeling like I'm at a frozen state right now. Do I invest in real estate, or do I move, or can I invest? And what's that going to look like? What if, this Delta becomes more serious? What's that going to do to my retirement portfolio? Is my money going to be as valuable as it is now into the future? It's really hard to plan. But there's a lot of things that we've been telling our clients to do, and that's to be proactive on controlling what you can control.
Hmm.
So one of the main things that you control is how much you have saved. So if you have that emergency fund, great. Make sure that you have enough there. Keep a really close, clear budget. Know where the money is going, and be careful about making big purchases right now. I know it's hard, but like I know a lot of people are looking at like maybe rental property. We're seeing a lot of uptick in people looking to buy vacation homes, but you might want to hold off on that just temporarily. Let's just see how this unfolds. And most importantly, one of the things you got to do too, even if you've done it in the last year, considering refinancing again, believe it or not, because rates have dropped yet once more. It
Okay.
might make sense for you to look at it. Certainly doesn't hurt. But make sure you don't make those panic decisions on your investment portfolio. This is key. If you're really nervous, you're feeling anxiety, definitely seek out advice right now, because this is a very challenging time, even for our clients that we've been consulting on for like 10 plus years. People are very nervous. And what you don't want to do is make a bad decision that's going to affect your future financial goals.
And even those who have a tight budget, I know they're Disney lovers out there, and they'll do whatever it takes to get a season pass to Disneyland. I haven't been in a few years. They call it the happiest place in the world. And I don't live in Southern California, so I don't foresee myself getting a season pass, but I know they launched a new one, Winnie, but I mean, the price of these things are, I mean, I guess if you go all the time, it's worth it, but I can't, I don't know. What's your take on this new pass out at Disneyland?
So, Mike, the timing is really interesting. But yes, Disneyland has released their brand new pass. It's now called the Magic Key. Comes in 4 options, from what I call $3.99 a year for SoCal residents down here, all the way to what I call astronomical at almost $1,400
Oh my God.
a year. So you got to really be a Disney fan here to give you an idea of how that compares. I mean, most adult tickets for Disneyland right now are about $104 to $154 a day, depending on how many days you choose. And then don't forget another $55 for that park hopper, and then $25 for standard parking. So even if you do like the season pass or you do an annual, it's going to be quite an investment. So this is what I would say. If you think you're gonna go quite often, then it makes sense for you. But as an alternative, for those of you who live in California, Disney's actually unveiled this sort of less talked about feature, which is you can actually buy a 3-day ticket for $83 a day through the end of September. So you could actually test it right before you actually invest in that season pass. That's what I would say for those big Disney lovers. I try to do that route instead. I think given with the pandemic and everything else, might be good to wait and see how this unfolds. But to give you
Yeah.
an interesting thing, I had to do this as a financial advisor, right?
What's that?
There's a calculation of how much have Disney season passes increased through the years? Because you hear about how crazy this has been. So 37 years ago, it was about $100 a year for adults to have a season pass to Disneyland. Well, now, let's use the mid-range one, which is what they call the Believe Key Pass, which doesn't give you complete access, but it gives you some
Yeah.
access, right? And some discounts. Now it's
Oh my
$949
God.
per person. So based on that, Disney inflation is over 6%, my friend. So it's a big number. It's a lot higher
That's a
than
huge number. I'm going to invest my money somewhere else. I'm not going to get the season pass, but for those who want to do it, go for it. It's the happiest place in the world. That's what they say. All right. Whitney, always a pleasure. Have a great rest of the week.
Thank you, Mike. You too. Take
All
care
right.
now.
See ya.